Alrighty. Are you ready for the DM question of the week?
Yes, we are.
Basically, the question is how to deal with metagaming.
Yes.
So, do you want to tell the listeners here, or the viewers, what metagaming is?
Sure. Yeah, what is metagaming? So metagaming is giving knowledge you have as a player to your character without justification.
So, cheating.
Yeah, so it's saying, I know werewolves, are killed by silver, so now my character knows. When your character has never once encountered a werewolf, lived, in a farm, in the Shire, and knows absolutely nothing about anything, yet you've given them that knowledge without justification. So that's metagaming.
Filbo, how do you know how to kill that werewolf? You just grew up in the Shire? I just know.
I just knew. Yes. It's my player knowledge. Okay, so, I was going to talk about basically a couple things with this. I was going to talk about why it's bad first, how a DM can stop it, and then how players can avoid it, and then some other thoughts about it. Do you have any? Is there any point in which?
I do have one. So basically,
one what though? For which of those categories?
Of how players can stop it.
Okay, well then before we do that, let me explain why it's bad.
It's
and how
not
a DM can
fun.
stop it. Yeah, why? Okay, why is it bad? It's not fun.
It's not fun because it's stupid and it makes no sense.
Okay, it's not fun. It's stupid. All right, I'll be a little more specific.
And it makes DMs sad.
Yes. Okay, so metagaming. So you may think like, oh, you've played a ton. It gives you an advantage, and like, why can't I use that? You might think that, or you might understand it's bad and just need to have a better, more specificity on why it's bad. So why metagaming is bad? 3 reasons. It robs you and the players of immersion, specifically the world's mysteries. So if it's a mystery of how werewolves are killed, or it's a mystery of whatever thing that's generally in the world, if you already know it, then it robs the entire campaign of that mystery being able to be a mystery. Mysteries are fun, right? So that's the first thing it does. It robs you as a player of the chance to solve problems, because if you already know that werewolves get killed by silver, then problem solved, right?
You're a lazy bum.
Yeah, you just use silver, right? You did it.
I mean, you could just blow them up too, but yeah.
You could blow them up. But it's much. I mean, this is for your sake to not metagame, really, because it's much more fun to try to figure out a way to solve the problem that fits your character, as opposed to just doing what you did last time. Because why would you want to just repeat, right? So if you have a character that's knowledgeable in werewolves, then bam, that character that character is good for that reason. And so now if you have a character that doesn't know werewolves, it can be fun to be like, I'm stabbing this thing and it's not dying. What do I do? And you have to figure out as a player, how would this character figure it out? Or how would this character beat this werewolf? And that's the fun right there. If you don't get to do that, you're just rolling dice.
Also, you do kind of ruin it for other players too if they don't know, like, how to kill a werewolf.
Oh, completely.
It's like they're like, so how do we kill this thing? It keeps healing, and then you pull over there, pull out a silver bullet, and just cap the werewolf. They're like,
oh, okay.
How did you know that? It's like, get good, kid.
I read all the stat blocks. Yeah. Exactly. So you don't want to.
I just imagine a character
do that.
I read the stat blocks, and then the character's like, then what? That makes no sense. He's just like, I get omens, boy.
Yeah, maybe go to a storm giant, they can tell you. But
yeah, or go to a library in the
you want to avoid doing it because
that's actually an easy way to sort of metagame. It's like I go to the library to like for my pastime and read about.
Yeah, if your character is a
reader, make it make sense, and then you can, that's how you solve the problem.
Yeah,
don't just pull it out of nowhere like a cheap butthole and make the DMs cry. I just have a personal thing against this. People did this to me, and I was just like, "Frick you!"
What do they do?
They metagamed against my Kraken boss.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll get into how a DM can stop it. But so it takes away the fun, because the fun is to tell the story, and if you're just going through the motions of doing exactly what is meant to be done because the stat block says so, I mean, what are you doing, right? You're not having as much fun as you could, and you're definitely not giving your players the chance to play through this actual scenario, because this scenario is not you as players are fighting a werewolf. This scenario is your characters are fighting this werewolf, and that's very different. The last thing it does is it makes smart and experienced characters pretty much worthless, and also, but at least less valuable. Because if you're gonna basically be proficient in like history or proficient in intelligence, something like that. I mean, you can't be proficient in intelligence, but proficient in one of these more intellect-based features, that's worthless if you already know everything, right? If you as a player know everything and you're just going to give it to this character anyway, there's no point in you being smart as a character. But if you're a smart character and everyone respects metagaming, then now you're valuable, because it's like you can role play as smart, and you can maybe make some rolls to give yourself knowledge.
The wizard is actually sort of useful.
Right.
When you go in the dungeon, you're like, wait, there's things here that portray a vampire. Wait, we all should use make it interesting.
Like if the barbarian will be good against a werewolf because the barbarian is good at fighting. And so maybe your gnome artificer or your smart, intelligent, wise wizard who's read books on stuff might be valuable not in their ability to stab the werewolf, but in their ability to discern what its weaknesses are, or know from their copious amounts of reading and all their studying and stuff like that.
Here, Turg, use this.
Yes.
Turg will kill him. Yes.
Yeah, or you have like a detective-like character. A detective-like character is a complete waste of time if all characters are going to be playing as such, right?
Metagame, yeah.
Yeah, metagaming. Okay, so how can a DM stop it? So you mentioned you had players that metagamed your Kraken or whatever.
If someone does it, just say, frick you, doesn't make sense for your character. Make a history check.
Yeah, pretty much. As a DM, you can simply tell players that they can't take certain actions because they're metagaming, right? So if, like, the Kraken comes and one of your players is sleeping, well, that player does not get to wake up and start fighting until there is a good reason. And that's just, you just got to be strict with that. Now, there is a complete responsibility on the player's end to not be a metagamer. But if they do metagame, you can just tell them, you wouldn't know that, so you can't take that action. That's fine, right? That's the same as you saying, oh, you're not, that's an impossible action. You can't just behead the Tarask. Sorry, it's not possible.
You can't do that quadruple backflip into the Superman punch that launches the Tarask into the atmosphere. Sorry, buddy. Not possible.
Yeah. Now, there is that thing where it's like, where you can always try, but in this case, it's like...
Theoretically, you can.
I guess theoretically you can. So if they're like, I want to wake up and fight, you can say, well, roll perception. Let's see if you actually...
If you get a 28, then you'll miraculously wake up, buddy.
But there are... So that is one way of doing it, but that way is a little harsh. Maybe, but you could probably do it. Depending on who you're with, you could probably do it fine. But this is a way you can make it a little more friendly and less, like, attacking. And so basically you incorporate their metagamed action into a role-play situation. And so let's say someone knows something they shouldn't, right, metagaming. One of the NPCs might be like, "What? Well, how'd you know that? Are you the three-eyed raven?" Like something like that, and then they're like, it one tells them, you don't know that. How did you know that? And then the player might be like, oh, I read a book about it. And then not only did you fit it into the story, but you also told them don't metagame because, you're putting a light on it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just imagine the Stormtrooper's like, what could this mean? And then the player's like, I know what exactly it means. It means all those people are going to die. And then the Stormtrooper's like, what? How?
Come with me. He just picks you up.
He picks you up, goes on his rock, and flies away, and the campaign's over.
Yes. So that's one way. But you don't want to be doing that. I mean, that will be tedious. You don't want to have to do that a million times. So let's talk about how the players can help you out, DM. And you had something for this, Ethan, right?
Yes.
What? How can the players avoid metagaming?
So, it's kind of simple. Don't do it.
Okay, Ethan. Wow.
So,
That's your answer there?
I have some.
Don't do it.
Well, no, but yes, just if you really want to get into the role of your character, it's just be logical with your characters. Like, if you're the barbarian, you probably don't know that vampires have a severe allergic reaction to garlic. Like, you probably would not know that, right? Mm-hmm. So, other players can help out. Other players, be like, you can't do that.
Yeah, you can help out.
Other players can help out the DM, and other players say, you can't do that, Jeffrey.
Well, the idea of a DM fitting it into a roleplay situation can be done by fellow players as well. So instead of the DM having an NPC saying, how do you know that? A player can say, well, how'd you know that? Like, I've read all these books about it, but I haven't seen you read once. How did you learn that?
Yeah, exactly. Make it like role-playing it.
Yeah, exactly. Okay,
or
but
just
how
have
can...
God come and say, shut up, you don't know.
Yes, but how can you as a player deal with metagaming and not do it? So the first one that Ethan said is you just sometimes have to ignore the information you have in your head. And so you just have to be intentional about it. You can say, I know werewolves are killed by silver. And then you have to think, would my character know that? No, they wouldn't. Okay, so then you cannot take actions on that account for that reason. So there's that. But I understand, and because I've been there, obviously, playing the game, that you don't always want to ignore it, and sometimes ignoring it could have pretty big consequences, like you could die. So here are ways, this is the way that you basically deal with metagaming in a way that makes it okay, that makes metagaming not so bad. And basically you roleplay a justification for doing something that your character needs to do, but wouldn't necessarily know to do. So this is what that would look like. So let's say you have the werewolf. Again, I'll just use the same example. Werewolf, your character doesn't know that silver kills it, but you're about to get killed by this werewolf. So it can be tough sometimes, but you as a player, instead of just pulling out your silver knife and starting to fight with that, you can do a lot of different stuff that makes sense for the story. So one, you could be like maybe you're a smart detective character, these weapons aren't working. It would be illogical to continue using the same weapons.
Took a spoon.
That is the definition of insanity, isn't it? I'm going to use my secondary weapon. And then you pull out a different one and see if that works. Maybe it's a silver knife. Or
it's a silver spoon.
Silver spoon. Or you might be like... this isn't there's a lot of different. It depends on your character.
It is really hard to metagame well. That makes it okay.
Well, yes, it can be hard. It really depends. In a straight up combat scenario, that can be hard because you're kind of on a timeline. But if you had time to discover things, so let's say instead of you in the middle of a battle with a werewolf, you are dealing with a werewolf problem, but you have time to research. Maybe there is a monster that you know about that is killed by silver, and you can be like, let's go through a book and see of all the creatures that we know of and what they are vulnerable to. And then you see okay, this is killed by silver, this is killed by garlic, let's start trying these things. You know what I mean? And maybe you don't pick silver as the first one you try, or maybe you roll a dice to see which one you try.
That would be fun.
Stuff like that.
Would be interesting. You just chuck garlic at a werewolf. That would be fun. Garlic, right.
But so the point is, you're doing what you need to do, but you're making it, you're role-playing it so that everyone at the table feels that you're not breaking immersion, that it is truly your character doing it, and not you just imposing your knowledge onto that character. That's the key. Just make it feel like you're telling a story and not feel like you're using outside knowledge. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, no, I mean, that was kind of a good gist of how to do that well, I guess. I had some ideas, use a library, because that makes sense. Yeah. Maybe you pick up the monster manual.
But you may have a library would work for a smart character.
Yeah,
maybe exactly. You have a character that doesn't
use your resources around you in this world.
Yeah,
that's what I think. Yeah, or talk with a storm giant or something that's a lot more intelligent.
And that can make the campaign less about just fighting and fighting. You know, not everyone wants to just fight all the time.
About, like, strategizing.
Strategy, yeah. Yeah. So I have some final other thoughts that can just maybe aid. And so as a DM, to address metagaming, Homebrew can help. So let's say you just got players that just metagame. You just can't. Like obviously you probably can deal with it, but let's say you just don't feel like dealing with it. A way to just completely make metagaming impossible is to homebrew. Because instead of having vampires or werewolves that can be killed by silver, you have some other monster that can be killed by some other substance.
By gold.
Yeah, it's something random that you've come up with, and now they have to actually figure it out because you came up with it. And actually, in this hope, Ethan's playing in a campaign of mine, and I have done this. I have made some homebrew monsters that you'll be encountering soon. Anyway, me as a DM am getting. I like talking about things.
I mean, do spiritual bears work?
Yeah, Ethan's character has spiritual bears. All right. One more thing, and this is just in general metagaming. I probably should have said this.
Kids.
Have fun with metagaming.
Oh.
No.
Don't do drugs.
I should have said this in the beginning, but metagaming becomes more of a consideration as you gain experience with D&D. You really don't have much of a risk with metagaming when you're new players because, you know, the Hydra shows up. A new player probably has no idea what a Hydra is beyond the general sense of what a Hydra is. They probably don't know that you need to deal fire damage to it to stop its regeneration. You know, it's a new player, so you don't really need to worry about it. So if you're a new player and you just listen to all this metagaming stuff, don't worry about it. Like, just go play the game. But what you could do is avoid... It's just getting in the practice, right? Like saying, I'm not playing a smart character, so I need to be less strategic. You know, you may feel a very strong need to be as efficient and smart as you can, but if you as a new player are playing a character that doesn't have a very high intelligence score, then don't feel bad about doing stupid stuff, because that's what your character should be doing.
Your character is stupid.
Yeah, and it will make it more fun. It is, you know, if everyone around the table understands what's going on, it will be more fun.
Also, always think about metagaming if one of your players is a DM.
What do you mean? Oh, yes. Oh, no. So I personally have to watch myself big time.
I do too.
Yeah.
It's kind of random.
Yeah, you definitely do. You've done some metagaming for sure, but you still do catch yourself. But I see your face. I'll say something and I just see the gears turning and it's like, oh, I know what we need. And I'm like, no, you don't. You don't know what you need.
My character is a literal caveman.
Yeah, because me and Ethan not only DM, but I mean, we literally make these episodes, so like we do research. So like when the storm giant walks up, like we know what we're looking at. You know what I mean? So it can be problematic. So you definitely got to watch yourself.
When you pull out that Hydra, where's the torch?
It's a mental shift of going from like legitimately being in this world and actually having mystery to embodying this character and just having fun with telling the story. It's what you're going to have to do when you get experienced. Because you just will have the knowledge. And so you'll probably start playing more homebrew worlds and stuff like that. But yeah, you just gotta change that mindset. It's not about winning. It's about just embodying your character and living in the world as your character.
Having fun.
Yes.